I never imagined that the woman I loved, the one I was ready to build a life with, would sit beside her parents in complete silence as they demanded I buy them a house. It wasn't a suggestion. It wasn't a conversation. It was a demand. "You're going to be marrying our daughter," her father said, leaning back in his expensive leather chair. "It's only fair that you provide her family with security. A house, nothing too big, but respectable, should be the starting point." I laughed, thinking it was some twisted joke. But no one else was laughing. I turned to her, my fiancé, my supposed partner, the woman who once told me she admired my independence and values. She didn't even meet my eyes. She just stared down at her manicured hands like a child waiting for the scolding to be over. Something in my chest cracked. The air around me felt thin, like I'd walked into a room where the oxygen was slowly being pulled out. "Are you serious?" I asked, forcing a calm that didn't match the chaos in my mind. Her mother spoke up this time. "You're successful. You have the resources. It's a gesture of love, of commitment. We raised her, supported her dreams, and now it's your turn to give back." Give back? I wasn't marrying them. I wasn't their investment to cash out on. But somehow, in that moment, I felt like a bargaining chip, like my love had been assigned a price tag, and now they were ready to collect. I'd met her parents before. They'd always been cold but courteous, the kind of people who smiled without ever really meaning it. I chalked it up to cultural differences or generational gaps. But now I realized it was something else. Control. I kept replaying the last few months in my mind. How her parents had suddenly started inviting us over more often. How they asked seemingly innocent questions about my finances. How they'd complimented my stability and ambition. I thought they were warming up to me. They were sizing me up. A man with no parents, no siblings, no real backup. I had worked my way up from a near-homeless teenage life to building a successful business. I had scraped, sacrificed, and earned every dime I owned. And now, they saw that as theirs to claim. I turned back to her. "Did you know they were going to ask me this?" Silence. "Emily." I pressed. "Did you?" She nodded, barely. Like a ghost version of the woman I thought I knew. They think it's a sign of respect," she murmured. "Respect." I almost barked. "How is financially sponsoring your family respect? Do they even respect me?" Her father scoffed. "We're not beggars. We're asking for a mutual show of commitment. What kind of man marries into a family and doesn't support it?" That one line made something inside me go numb. They weren't asking, they were asserting. As if I'd already said yes. As if I didn't have a choice. I excused myself. Went to the restroom. Locked the door. Stared at my reflection like I was trying to find proof of who I was. What kind of man was I? One who lets people walk over him? One who plays along with a power game disguised as tradition? One who marries someone who stays silent while her parents scheme like politicians? I splashed water on my face. Tried to calm the shaking in my hands. And then I heard it, voices through the wall. "You think he'll say yes?" her mother asked. "He has to," the father replied. "He's in too deep now. Got no one else. Or, do you think a guy like that makes it big twice?" Then Emily's voice. "Maybe we're pushing too hard. We raised you better than that. Don't let emotions cloud this. He's our ticket to a better future." My blood turned to ice. That wasn't just disrespect. That was calculation. I left the bathroom, sat down, smiled politely, and told them I'd think about it. But in my mind, the plan was already forming. They wanted a house? Fine. They'd get one. But not in the way they expected. That night, as we drove back, Emily tried to explain. "They don't mean it in a bad way. It's just how they think. In their culture." "Emily," I interrupted, "you didn't even warn me." "I was scared you'd freak out," she admitted. "But I thought maybe if you heard them out." "Heard them out?" "They talked about me like I was a transaction. And you just sat there." "I didn't agree with everything they said. But you didn't disagree either." Silence again. And that silence said everything I needed to know. For the next few days, I pretended everything was normal. I responded to her texts. I even called her once, like I usually did. But behind the scenes, I was making moves. Quietly. Deliberately. They wanted me to use my money to build them something? I would. But not what they expected. I was going to give them a house, all right, a house of truth. A structure so shocking, so unmistakably loud in its message, that they'd never recover from the shame of their own greed. I didn't know what the end of this plan looked like yet, but I knew the foundation. Expose them, shock them, break the illusion. And when the dust settled, make sure Emily chose which side she stood on, mine or theirs. Because there was no middle anymore. Not after this. I began with the one thing they thought I would never do, pull away. It was subtle at first. I stopped responding right away to Emily's texts. Canceled dinner plans. Blamed work. But really, I was gathering information. I wanted to know exactly how deep this entitlement ran. I reached out to an old college friend, who is now a financial investigator. Not because I was paranoid, but because something about that meeting lingered like a bad smell. The way her father mentioned my resources, the way her mother said they weren't beggars. My gut told me this wasn't just about a house. And I was right. Turns out, Emily's father had filed for bankruptcy 2 years ago. Quietly. Privately. So quietly that even their neighbors didn't know. Their credit was shot. Multiple failed business ventures. Debts tied to family members. And now, they saw me as the golden parachute. I was the clean slate. The solution. The last shot at a legacy they had failed to build on their own. I could have walked away right then. Honestly, I almost did. But then I thought, no. Not yet. They tried to play me like a fool. And Emily? She let them. Whether out of fear or alignment, I didn't know yet. But I intended to find out. So I did the unthinkable. I agreed to buy the house. When I called her parents to discuss the details, their excitement was almost grotesque. Her father's voice shifted, suddenly full of warmth. I knew you were a man of honor, he said. No, I wasn't doing this for honor. I was doing it for the reveal. Emily seemed relieved, maybe even touched. You really mean it? She asked, eyes wide and almost glowing. I mean it, I said, lying through my teeth. But I had conditions. I'll buy the house, I told them, but I want to be the one to choose it. I'll handle everything, design, paperwork, title, everything. Just trust me. They didn't even flinch. Of course they'd agree. Why would they care about the details when they thought they'd won? I toured several properties. Found one that was absolutely perfect, not because it was beautiful, but because it was staged. It was a show home, luxurious, sparkling, but ultimately empty. No one lived there. It looked like success, but it was a facade. Just like them. I arranged a fake closing day. Even had a realtor friend act the part. Then I invited Emily and her parents to a private viewing. I told them it was theirs. That I had already put the payment down. That this was my gift to the family. They arrived dressed like royalty. Her mother in pearls. Her father in a tailored suit he clearly hadn't worn in years. I'll never forget their faces when they walked in. This is stunning, her mother whispered, running her fingers across the marble countertop. It's ours? Her father asked, wide-eyed. Yes, I said. You wanted security? Respect? This is it. Emily squeezed my hand. I don't even know what to say. Good. Because I wasn't done. Let's sit, I told them. I have something to share. We gathered around the island in the kitchen. A silent tension filled the room, though they thought it was anticipation. I took out my phone and hit play on a recording. The audio came to life, her parents' voices, from the night of the demand. Every word, every manipulation. And then, the bathroom conversation. You think he'll say yes? He has to. Got no one else. The color drained from their faces. Her mother stood up. What is this? Her father barked. You recorded us? Yes, I said, voice calm. Because people like you don't believe anything unless it's played back in your own voices. Emily looked at me, stunned. You recorded them? I had to, I replied. Because I didn't know if you were going to protect me or protect them. Tears welled in her eyes. I didn't know they said that behind the door. I just thought they wanted security. I didn't know it was this bad. Did you ever think to warn me? Or did you think I'd be too in love to question it?
She didn't respond.
Her silence was the loudest answer of all. I stood. This isn't your house. None of this is yours. I never bought it. It's staged. Just like this whole relationship. Her father bellowed, "You conniving little—" "Save it," I snapped. "You used your daughter to dig yourself out of financial ruin. You plotted. You played me. And you thought I wouldn't fight back." Emily stepped between us. "Stop. Just stop. You're all out of control." I turned to her. "I loved you. But love doesn't survive in silence. And you were silent when it mattered most." She tried to defend herself. I didn't know what to do. I didn't think they'd go that far. "And now that you do?" She didn't answer. Her mother glared. "You think anyone else will ever want you after this stunt? You've embarrassed us." I looked her dead in the eye.
No.
You embarrassed yourselves. I walked out of that house with nothing but my dignity, and that felt richer than anything they could have taken from me. The days after that confrontation were quiet, eerily quiet. Emily didn't call. Her parents didn't show up at my door. It was as if they all vanished into a cloud of humiliation. Part of me thought it was over. I'd exposed the truth, burned the bridge, freed myself. But stories like these never end so easily. 3 weeks later, I got a message. From Emily. "Can we talk? Please." I didn't know how deep it really went until you showed me. I ignored it. A few days later, another message. "I want to see you. I miss you. I need to tell you something important about my family. About my mom especially." This time I agreed. Curiosity, more than anything, pulled me in. We met at a quiet cafe downtown. She looked different. Tired.
Worn.
But there was a clarity in her eyes I hadn't seen before. "I owe you the truth," she began. "And an apology. I was naive. I thought my parents were just pushy. Traditional. I never imagined they were strategic like that." "Emily, you lived with them your whole life," I replied. "You never saw the pattern?" "I think I chose not to." She stirred her coffee absently. "When I was younger, my mom used to make me pretend we had more money than we did. She was obsessed with image. Even when our lights got cut off once, she made us wear designer clothes to church. She always said, 'Perception is power.' I think I was just used to it." I stayed quiet. I needed her to keep talking. "What you don't know is, after you exposed them, they lost their minds. My mom called me crying, said I betrayed her. My dad said I chose a stranger over blood. But you know what finally broke me?" She looked up, eyes sharp with remembered pain. "They tried to get me to sue you." I blinked. "Sue me? For what?" "For emotional manipulation. Public defamation. They said the house stunt was psychological abuse. That you humiliated them and I could get money out of you if I cooperated." I leaned back in my seat, stunned. "Are you serious?" "They even contacted a lawyer. But when I refused, my mom lost it. Said I wasn't her daughter anymore. That I had no loyalty. She blocked me. My dad hasn't spoken to me since. Now it was my turn to be silent. They don't care about me," she said softly. "They never did. I was just a means to an end. A puppet with a pretty dress. And when I cut the strings, I became useless to them." The air between us was heavy.
Sad. Real.
"I'm not here to ask for another chance," she added. "I know I failed you. I just wanted you to know. I see it now. All of it." And then came the twist I never expected. "I found documents," she said. "Old ones. Hidden in my mom's closet. Bank statements. Letters. And something else, a journal." My curiosity piqued instantly. "She's been doing this for years. You weren't the first." I stared at her, stunned. "What?" "She dated a wealthy man before my dad. He left her. So she made it her life's mission to secure power through image. Then came my dad. He was ambitious but not smart. They lost money fast. And ever since I turned 18, she's been preparing me to catch someone like you." My stomach turned. It wasn't love, it was strategy. The dinner parties. The pressure to dress right, speak right, Smile on cue. It was all part of the plan. I felt cold all over. How deep does this go? I asked. She even wrote about which of your relatives she thought were weak links. Which friends to win over. She planned your entire assimilation into the family before you even proposed. It was like watching a chess game unfold after realizing you'd been the pawn all along. Emily reached into her bag and handed me a manila folder.
Here.
I thought you should have it, in case they ever try something. Inside were copies of the journal entries, photos of the documents, even screenshots of their group texts. It was like looking into the mouth of a serpent, calculated, cold, rehearsed. I'm done with them, she said. For real. I've moved into a studio. I'm seeing a therapist. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted closure. She stood to leave. Emily, I said, stopping her. You didn't just give me closure. You gave me clarity. She smiled sadly. Then maybe something good came from all this after all. And she walked away. I didn't chase her. I didn't call her again. But I didn't hate her anymore. She'd been raised by wolves and trained to be tame. It wasn't until she got bitten that she realized she wasn't one of them. As for her parents, they went silent. Maybe they realized the game was over. Or maybe they found another target. Either way, I made sure I wasn't it. I changed my number, sold my apartment,
Took time off.
I even moved to a new city. I thought I'd feel broken,
Angry.
but I didn't. I felt reborn. Because sometimes, the best revenge isn't exposure or confrontation. Sometimes the best revenge is survival. Quiet, dignified.
Free.
It's strange how the deepest wounds don't always bleed. Sometimes, they sit silently under your skin, teaching you without speaking, reminding you without screaming. That's what this whole experience became for me, a silent teacher. I never imagined that falling in love would drag me into a storm of entitlement, manipulation, and emotional warfare. I thought I was building a life, but what I was really doing was stepping into a trap. And yet, what a powerful teacher pain can be. You learn who you are when everything stable collapses. You discover how strong your voice is when you finally use it to say no. And more than anything, you come face to face with people's true nature when there's something they want from you, and even more when you refuse to give it. I look back at Emily's parents now with a sense of detachment. Not anger. Not even disgust. Just clarity. They weren't evil. They were just consumed by hunger. The kind of hunger that no house, no luxury, no inheritance could ever truly feed. You see, people like that aren't after things, they're after control. They want to be seen as powerful, respected, envied. And when they can't get those things through their own effort, they find people like me, people who've worked hard, built something, and want to share their life with someone. I was never the son-in-law they loved. I was the opportunity they needed. But here's the truth they didn't count on. I don't just give. I observe. I listen. And when the time comes, I act. I didn't explode in anger. I didn't fight them in court or make a scene. I simply turned their own greed against them. Let them bury themselves with their own behavior. And once the final act played out, I walked away. With my integrity. With my sanity. With my freedom. Not everyone gets that chance. And I don't take it lightly. So if you're watching this, listening to my story, and thinking, this feels familiar, please hear me. You are not crazy. If you've been guilt-tripped into giving more than you could afford, if you've been shamed for saying no when your heart said enough, if you've been told that family comes first only when they need something from you, then it's time to reevaluate who's really family and who's just using the title. Because real love doesn't demand houses. It doesn't measure worth in dollars or square footage. It doesn't come with ultimatums, contracts, or shame tactics. Real love builds with you. It contributes. It compromises. It lifts. It doesn't drain. And let's not pretend that walking away is easy. It's not. It's lonely at first. You'll second-guess yourself. You'll wonder if you were too harsh, too cold, too stubborn. But I promise you, peace is always worth the price. Somewhere along the way, I realized something powerful. Maybe the house I offered wasn't just a trap for them. Maybe it was a test for me. A test to see if I had the strength to set boundaries. To say this far and no more. To choose myself, even when everyone expected me to fold. And you know what? I passed. Not with revenge. Not with rage. But with grace. That's the part they'll never understand. Because people like them thrive on chaos. On reactions. On power plays. But what do you give people who feed on control? Silence.
Distance.
And nothing more. It kills them more than any fight ever could. And Emily? I hope she finds peace. I really do. Because she wasn't born toxic. She was trained. Raised in an emotional pressure cooker. I can't blame her for trying to survive the only way she knew how. But survival at the cost of truth is still betrayal. So I let her go. With kindness, but with finality. There's a kind of closure that doesn't come with, I'm sorry. It comes with clarity. When you finally see people as they are, not as you hoped they'd be. And once you do, you don't need revenge. You don't need justice. You don't even need apology. You just need a new chapter. And I'm writing mine now. In a new city. With new people. In a life where my love isn't measured by what I give away, but by what we build together. So if you've ever been where I was, if you've ever been used, manipulated, emotionally leveraged, hear this loud and clear. You are not weak for walking away. You are powerful for reclaiming your story. Let them talk. Let them twist the narrative. Let them call you selfish. Because deep down you know the truth. And truth doesn't need approval. It just needs to be lived. So live it. Fully. Freely. Unapologetically. You don't owe anyone a mansion, a car, or your silence. All you owe them is your truth. And once you give that, you owe them nothing else.